Well, hi there. This is Algebra at Living Liberty. Some information and usefulness. There's basically a pattern to the kind of problems that we're going to be solving. These are called linear equations, and they will generally have some sort of pattern like this, where you'll say 8x plus 3 equals 7x minus 5. Now, there may be x's on both sides. There may be x just on one side. There may be x's on the left or on the right. There may be numbers and there may not be numbers on here. Basically, what the goal is if you think of this as a balance scale where the center piece here is the balance piece, whatever you do to this side, you have to do to this side, and it will stay in balance. You can't add stuff to one side and without adding stuff to the other side. You can't subtract, you can't divide, you can't multiply, you can't do anything with one side unless you do the same to the other side. So that's what we're going to do with. Our goal is basically going to be 3 steps. First step is you move anything with the x to the left. Okay, so we move anything with an x to the left, and that's the first step. So if we look at this particular problem, you have an 8x. When I say to the left, I mean the left of the equal sign. So I have a 7x on this side. So if you think of it as a balance scale, think of it as 7, whatever x might represent, let's say Xerox machines. You got 7 Xerox machines and you have -5 numbers. So in your head, you want to be thinking anything without a letter, just use the word in your head, numbers. So I have -5 numbers and I have 7 Xerox machines. So to get rid of 7 Xerox machines simply is I take them off. I'm taking off the Xerox machines. So to do that, I subtract 7x because 7x minus 7x is 0. But whatever I do with the left, I have to do on the right and the left both. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. So if I do that, I end up with, I didn't move any of the numbers, so those are still there. I have a -5 on one side and a +3 on the other. But 7x and a -7x is 0. And then now, what's 8x plus 7, -7x, or 8x minus 7x, is I end up with just a single x. So that's the first step, is I move anything with an x to the left. So the only thing on the left side is I have x, and I also number, and then I have a -5. Okay, number 2, second step, is I'm going to move all the numbers to the right side. Now, when I say numbers, you're going to have to think a little bit different. This is a number, that's a letter. That's a number. Back in the original, that's 8 letters. These are 3 numbers, 7 letters, -5 numbers. So in your head, you have to be saying, what is it? Is it letters or numbers? Well, I'm going to move all of the numbers to the right. Well, I have a +3 number at this point. So how do I get rid of 3? Well, I can subtract 3 because +3 minus 3 is 0. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides because whatever I do to the left, I have to do it on the right. Well, -3 and +3 is 0. That gets rid of them. So I end up with just an x on the left. And then -3 and -5 on the right is -8. Okay, and in this particular problem, I'm now done. I have solved and I know what x is. And I could actually go back and check and see if that works. So if x is -8, what's 8? Now let's try that. 8 times, instead of x, -8 plus 3. And that's supposed to equal 7 times -8 minus 5. If I did it right. So because x is -8. So I put a -8 for x in the original 2 here. So 8 times -8, 8 times 8 is 64. So that's -64 plus 3. And 7 times 8 is 56. So that's -56 minus 5. Well, -64 plus 3 is -61. -56 minus 5 is -61. 61 doesn't equal 61. Negative 61 does equal negative 61. So I did it right. So this is your check, is that you can go in and re-put in the numbers to see if it works. So you can check by looking at the back of the book as an answer, or you can check by redoing it, depending on what time you have left. Most people cheat and they just look at the back of the book. However, if you don't have a back of the book answer, you can always check your answer just doing it yourself. All right, so I'm going to add a third step here that most problems have. So let's move on to a slightly different version of one. And this one, I'm going to give you a new problem. So we're going to go done with that one and move on to a new one. Let's try this one. Negative 7 minus 6x equals 3x plus 8. Now I'm making these up, sort of. Actually, I'm just pulling these out of the homework. This one is question number 15 on page 9. So first step, what am I going to do? Is the x's go to the left. Okay, so I notice I have on the right-hand side a 3x. To get rid of 3x, I'm just going to subtract 3x from both sides. Okay, so what that will allow me to do is it'll give me, well, what's 3x minus 3x? 0. And so the only thing left here is a positive 8. Okay, on this side, I have a negative 7. That's a number. Can't touch it. And then I have a negative 6x and a negative 3x. So what's a negative 6x plus a negative 3x? Well, that's a negative 9x. Okay, so you follow me there? So whatever I did on the left and the right, I have to do the same. Since my goal is to end up with all the x's on the left, have I accomplished my goal? And the answer is yes. I have a negative 9x's here, I have numbers here, and I have numbers here. So I've accomplished the first goal. Second goal is the numbers go to the right. So, well, I have an 8 on the right. That's good. I have a negative 9x. That's not a number. That's a x's. I have negative 9 zero machines, or whatever the x stands for. And then I have a negative 7. That's a number. So to get rid of this number, in other words, not have it on the left, I'm going to add 7. If I add 7, well, what's negative 7 plus 7? The answer is 0. So I'm going to, but if I add it to the left, I'm also going to add it to the right. Well, negative 7 plus 7 is 0, so they just kind of go away. And I end up with negative 9x equals 15, because 8 plus 7 is 15. Okay, so that's the second step. My first step was get all the x's to that side, give me this part. Then the second step is get all the numbers to that side, that gives me this part. Now, the third step is divide by whatever's in front of the x. So there, on both sides. So in this case, what does that mean? Negative 9, if I write that as a fraction and I divide that by negative 9, so in other words, whatever's in front of the x, I just put on the bottom. Well, what's negative 9 over negative 9? The answer is anything over itself is equal to 1. So this is equal to 1 times x. That's my goal, is to get just the x's by themselves. Now, normally we don't write the number 1, but I'm going to leave it there for now. So if I did negative 9 on the left, I also have to do negative 9 on the right. So otherwise, it's not balanced. Again, it's a balanced scale. Whatever you do to the left side, you got to do the right side. Well, negative 9 over 9 is 1. Negative 15 over 9 is on this side. Okay. Now, the last step, now I'm basically done. But I don't usually leave it written like this. I don't like to have a 1 there. So I rewrite it as x equals. And if I can reduce this fraction, I will. 3 goes into both of those. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. And 3 goes into 9 3 times. So I could either leave it as 15 ninths, negative 15 ninths, or I could leave it as negative 5 thirds. Either one is an acceptable answer. Generally speaking, you want to reduce it, but it's not wrong if you leave it here. Okay, so that's the 3 steps. Step number 1, move everything with x's to the left. Step number 2, do the right. Step number 3, divide whatever's in front of this thing, of the letter, on both sides, and you'll end up with the answers. All of these problems in the first section do this exactly. So let me give you one that's a little bit, seems funkier, but it is still actually the same. Same steps. Flip over to a new page. This one is going to be problem number, let's go problem number 18 on page 11. So problem number 18, page 11. So that problem is 9x minus 3x equals 7x plus 4. Again, our goal is to find what x is equal to. So step 1, anything with an x, get it to the left side. All right, well, that has an x on the left side, that has an x on the left side, that has an x on the right side. I need to get rid of this. I don't care about these right now. If I have a 7x on that side, I'm going to subtract 7x from it, and it goes away. But if I do that on the left, I also have to do that on the right. So this is re-looking at it. I end up with no x's on the right. Those go away. And then I got a bunch of x's over here. So I go, what's 9x's minus 3x's minus 7x's? Well, 9 minus 3 is 6. 6 minus 7 is negative 1x. Okay. So in this case, step number 2 is get all the numbers on the right. In this case, all the numbers are on the right. I don't have to do step 2 because this problem didn't need it. It only had one number. If I had had a number over here on this left side, I would have had to move it over there. In other words, get rid of it. But the third step is, again, you divide by whatever is in front of the x on both sides. So what's in front of the x? Well, what's in front of the x is negative 1. Doesn't look like a negative 1, but it really is a negative 1. See, now it looks like a negative 1. So negative x just means negative 1x. Well, to get rid of that negative 1, divide both sides by negative 1. And so negative 1 over negative 1 is, anything over itself is 1. So that's equal to 1x. And on the right, I have negative 4. Negative 4 over, negative 4 over negative 1 is the same thing as negative 4 over 1, which is the same as negative 4 over 1. Any of these, they mean the same. Well, what's 4 over 1? 4 over 1 is 4, so it's just negative 4. So all of those are equivalent and are good answers. But that's actually the one that's the clearest. Okay, so that's what you do when you have all three steps where one of the steps is missing. In this case, step number 2 was missing. All right, let me give you one more from this lesson, and you should be good to go. Let's do one that's got all 3 steps. So this is number 9 on page 12. Okay, number 9 on page 12 is 2x minus 5 equals negative 3 plus 6x. Okay, so first step, anything with an x, put it on the left side. Well, there's an x, 6x. I got to get rid of it. It's on the wrong side. So to get rid of 6x, I subtract 6x. But I have to do that to both sides, otherwise it's not balanced. So I end up with a negative 3 on the right because these go away. And now I have a negative 5. I haven't done anything with the numbers. Again, negative 3 numbers, negative 5 numbers. And I have a positive 2x and a negative 6x. That's going to equal a negative 4x. So you got that in your head, and what you're visualizing is I have one of those, I have one of those, and I have one of those. I've got 2 numbers and negative 4 letters. It's how your brain should be thinking this. And the letter in this case is X. It could be A, B, C, any letter of the alphabet, any algebra symbol could be there. And in this case, this problem, and most algebra 1, your X is going to be your typical letter that you're working with because you get used to it that way. All right, well, second number step is anything with a number, go to the right. Well, that's not a number. That's X's. There's 4 X's. That's a number, negative 5 numbers. How do I get rid of negative 5 numbers? Well, the answer is I add 5 numbers because negative 5 plus positive 5 is 0. If I do that to the left side, I'm going to do it to the right side. So I end up with, well, what's negative 3 plus 5? The answer is 2. And those go away on the left because negative 5 and positive 5 is 0. So I have negative 4x equals 2. You with me on that? I'm now done with step number 2. Okay, so I've got all the x's on the left, all the numbers on the right. The last step is to get rid of the numbers in front of the letters. Well, what is the number in front of the x? Well, -4 is what's the number in front of the x. So I'm going to divide by -4 and divide by -4. So divide both sides by the number in front of the letter. Okay. Well, -4 over -4 is 1. So this becomes 1x. -2 over 4 is just -2 over 4. Okay. I can reduce this and make it simpler. There we go. Sorry about that. So -4 over -4 is 1. 2 over -4 is just 2 over -4. Well, I don't usually like to write 1x, so I just write x. And then instead of 2/4, that's just 1/2. So it's -1/2. So that's the answer. All right, and that's how you do all of these problems. All right, good luck.